Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and I've got a lot of news specifically on the economic front. As you know, our debt is continually going up, and even though Donald Trump is president, things are still kind of toppling. So what I wanted to do in this report is bring on Charles Thorngren with noblegoldinvestments.com, and he's got tons of insightful information and just the going on of what's going down with the economy, and I thought it was absolutely crucial to get him in. So Charles, are you with me over there?
I am. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. Now, I put out a few reports over this week, and they're just kind of shocking me. So I wanted to get your input and your, advice on what you think about the economy. But just this past week, here's just a few of the bombshells I wanted to share with you. First and foremost, this is probably one of the bigger ones, but the Congressional Budget Office shared this week that if the debt limit were not remains unchanged and weren't raised, there by Congress, then the United States Treasury was going to, and I'm quoting, run out of cash in mid-October. Now, in addition to that, just the other day, I found another bombshell is the Bank for International Settlements is warning that a new financial crisis could soon strike, and I'm saying with a vengeance. That is according to the Bank for International Settlements. They strike with a vengeance. What's going on here?
Yeah, it really comes down to something quite simple, and not something we want to hear, but it's something we have to deal with. We have a scenario where the past administration has spent so much money, has promised so much in funding for things that we don't necessarily need, but it fit their agenda, that those bills are bankrupting us. This is why we need to increase the debt ceiling. And it's not because we like debt. It's because the programs still need to run until we can get them fixed. Change doesn't happen overnight. And we want it to, but it just doesn't work that way. And to quote, to make America great again, it takes time. It does not happen overnight. The important thing is that the process has started. Without a start, you never get to the finish line. But there will be bumps and bruises along the way. Whenever you run a deficit, that bill has to be paid. No matter if you quit spending money like you were crazy, you still have to pay your debt. So those bumps and bruises are going to be there. With the Bank of International Settlement, I believe they're talking about our credit rating. We are massively in debt. And international settlement, your credit rating establishes a lot of what's done. It allows people to borrow. It allows people to finance with your currency because it is in such good standing. So no one knows exactly what they're saying, but that's what I read between the lines. If we don't fix our issues, if they don't increase that debt ceiling and find a way to bring our debt under control, we could lose some ranking with the International Settlement Bank. It's not a pleasant thing, but these are the things that we have to go through because of what's been done.
Now, as you sell gold, precious metals, silver, all of that, and that's why you're my number one recommended source. I don't even go local. I got all my gold from you and converting the 401 into a Roth IRA, all amazing things. But what is that going to do? You said if the Bank for International Settlements, you said if they, pull out or?
If they decrease our rating.
If they decrease our rating, what is that going to do to America?
It's going to make us less creditworthy. Our debt will start to be realized and we won't be the safe bet anymore. So you'll have scenarios where people won't use the dollar for international settlement between countries. So that means they won't have to hold those dollars. What we can't afford to have happen is while we're trying to fix the economy and deal with these other issues, we can't have other nations selling back dollars, that debt that they purchased from us for trade and settlement. We don't want them selling it back because there's a better option. This is why we need to clean up our financial house. Because if other countries don't need the dollars and they don't necessarily like us, they're going to sell them as quick as they can. We can't afford that. We need them to hold that debt so we can bring a controlled measure to bring back the debt. Whether we can do that or not is another question altogether, but we don't want everyone running. It's like the old scenarios where, we all saw It's a Wonderful Life. When they ran on the bank, you need someone sitting there saying, hey, George has got to sit there and say, hey, don't take your 100, just take this 20 back. And that's the situation we would be in if the Bank of International Settlements came back and said, America's credit rating isn't fantastic anymore. So we need to avoid that at all costs.
And that's pretty vile to say financial crisis could strike with a vengeance. That's huge. I know I'm a broken record, but that's why I'm so big, because this isn't going to lose, like the dollar is going to lose, like paper currency is going to lose, your gold, your silver, your metals. That's why I think it's so important. And things that we can barter, definitely, if everything hits the fan, you've got to have some bartering pool. Now, you told me off kind of the camera about some of the going downs with the Fed. Can you explain to the audience what's going on there?
Yes, we have a scenario where the Fed has come out and said that they are going to begin to reduce the quantitative easing money. They're going to start to take that money back out of the system. So what that means is that $4.5 trillion that they put into the market to increase and save us from the horrible economy we're in and the possible collapse of the economy in 2008 and 2009, that $4.5 trillion, they're going to begin to pull that back now. And this is why, like we were saying earlier, we can't afford to have other nations trying to sell us back those securities as well as the Federal Reserve selling them. It causes an amazing amount of chaos. So when you see this, and just as an example, in 2013, when Ben Bernanke even mentioned about tightening up the money supply. There's two ways you tighten money supply. You quit lending it, or you start to sell back what you already own. So when he talked about quit lending money, the quantitative easing program, the stock market got devastated because there was fear. The insiders knew that that was the only thing holding this market up. And we know that when we talk to one another, because no one says right now, oh, the stock market and the economy feels fine. That's not a conversation the average person has. We look around at each other and say, what's going on? It doesn't make sense. So all that money created this movement that we have, created this all-time high on the Dow. That's now coming back out of the system. And here's the scariest part about it. It's never been done like this before. We've never had this much money in circulation, so we don't know if the Fed can do it effectively or not. It's never been done. We have to hope they can. I don't like hoping. I'm a planner. I like a plan. I like to work things out and know this is going to happen and this is going to happen. So we're in a situation that if it's not done absolutely right, you could see your equities markets get shuttered. We could see a repeat of another 54% loss because there is no faith there. And the money that brought us there is now trying to leave that market. It's going to do two things. It's going to raise interest rates, and it's going to decrease the stock market. So it's a very scary precipice we're on. And we have to hope that the government does it right. I'm not a big fan of what they've done so far. And this isn't talking about, the White House. This isn't Congress. We are strictly talking about the Federal Reserve System. So it's a tough situation that we're in.
Now, as someone who is an investor in gold and silver and precious metals, what does that mean for all of that?
Well, and that's why we've been talking about it. Gold and silver, that's your safe haven. As equities decline, gold and silver goes up. As that interest rate continues to move up, you're going to see metals move up. There's a lot that's going to happen metals-wise. And that's why this is that counter to the stock market, to the bond market. And that's why we've had these conversations about PE ratios and bond yield curves. This all plays a factor. This is your safe haven. It's always been, it always will be. This is what people trust. So as you see that market correct, you're going to see your metals market increase. Now, what will happen in the perfect environment, they move one for one. In this scenario, you could see a hyper movement in the metals because there is so much fear of how bad this will get. Common sense and just rational thought says we could see us go back to our all-time highs on metals, or even possibly more. But if fear leaches into the system and we see the Federal Reserve handle this wrong, we could go significantly higher. It's very hard to say. But we do know one thing. You want metals. That's your safe haven. If you want to protect your portfolio, if you want to protect your retirement, and not go through another 2007 to 2009 scenario, you need to have metals to offset that. That's the good news. There is a way to protect yourself.
That's good. And, you know, converting your 401 into a Roth IRA, they can do that as well. And that's going to help, yes or no?
Yes, we can help. Any of your captured retirement accounts, we can help get that transferred over, give you more control over it, give you more options, give you the ability to invest in precious metals. That's a great move in itself, is just to have more control over your portfolio is always a good thing. So if you have one of those captive accounts in an old 401k or an old annuity that was invested in qualified funds and you can move it, it makes sense to do that. But the ability to get the precious metals is what's going to stave off what's to come over the next year and a half to 2 years.
Well, here's some of the things. I mean, I'm very particular about who I bring on, and I called you up this week and wanted to bring you on because I have just been really delving into some of these things that are going on in the economy. I thought I got to talk to you, especially because I invest myself, but also because I believe in what you do. And people out there, go to noblegoldinvestments.com, get yourself in a good, strong place. But here's one thing I wanted to mention, and I didn't mention at the beginning of the video, but let me share with you a quote by Janet Yellen, which you already know of, but I want to share it with the viewers out there because I think that this is just sidetracking the issue, or kind of putting a Band-Aid over what's happening. But here's what she said, and I'm going to leave links below for you guys so you can verify everything. But she said, quote, "Would I say there will never ever be another financial crisis? You know, probably that would be going too far," obviously, because she knows it will happen. "But I do think we're much safer and I hope that it will not be in our lifetimes, and I don't believe it will be." That's what she said in an event in London. And I think, honestly, maybe she's only referencing her lifetime. I don't know. But Janet Yellen said that at an event in London. And I'm just thinking, you know, I think she's just attempting to not muddle, but calm the waters because it's the Federal Reserve. Well, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about that?
Absolutely. And that's kind of her job. She is the chairman of the Federal Reserve. It is her job to bring peace to chaos, and it's her job to try to bring balance and control to the unruly. So it's kind of her job. I don't agree with her, but I'm not going to blame her for it. If you look back to Alan Greenspan, when he made his famous quote of irrational exuberance, he almost got, I won't say crucified, because that's a very special place in my heart and what happened there, but he was really took to task. And that became one of the things he's known for instead of the rest of his policy. So Ben Bernanke and now Janet Yellen have learned from that mistake. You deflect as much as possible. Ben Bernanke did the same thing. He said, we're going to do one round of quantitative easing. On round 4, he quit talking about it. So that's their job. They create spin around the horrible things they have to do on economic basis based on the situation we're in. And we do kind of want that. As long as there's ways to find out the truth, you don't want everyone running through the street, you know, losing their minds and throwing money away. You got to have some control. You got to bring some balance to it. The good news is that, you know, people can come to sources like this and find out the real truth and do it in a calm way and get themselves protected. That's the good news.
Great. Well, please make sure you guys have gold, silver, convert your 401ks. Just make sure you have something tangible. If it hits the fan, again, these are things that are you can use them as bartering tool, especially if, you know, paper money is just inflated or hyper deflation or inflation. Always a good bet. So go to noblegoldinvestments.com. Now, Charles, do you have any last words while we close this out?
I do. You know, don't try to guess for yourself. If you're not sure, give my team a call. This is what they do. They'll explain the options to you. They'll tell you if you have something to worry about or not. We're one of those few companies that if we don't think it's right for you, we're going to actually tell you that. We have ethics. And don't try to guess. If you're not sure, call us. We're pretty friendly. We're nice. No one bites. Very easy to talk to. Find out for yourself. Don't guess. Know for sure. That's what I would say.
What's the number there if they want to call?
The best number to call is 877-646-5347. And make sure you tell us that Lisa sent you.
Yeah, just throw my name in there when you call, and they'll be extra nice to you. If not, I'll tell you, Charles.
Please do.
They're nice anyway. They're all nice. So absolutely. Well, thanks again, you guys, for tuning into my channel here. It was just really huge that I bring them on in light of everything that is just going on this week. I wanted to get some economic expert advice, but don't forget to go to noblegoldinvestments.com. I'm going to leave a link below. Just you can click the link directly, but let them know you heard it on Lisa Haven. And well, thanks again for tuning in. This is Charles Gold and Lisa Haven signing out.